What if I told you that most business owners are baking salty cakes and expecting their accountants to turn them into birthday showstoppers? Sounds ridiculous, right? But that is exactly what is happening with bookkeeping and the way people are doing their bookkeeping. Hi, my name is Ray Armand, and I'm a chartered accountant based in the UK, and I am here to help you become a Xero hero. I would love to hear in the comments below your thoughts on this idea of salty bookkeeping being handed to accountants, salty cakes. So please do comment below and let me know your thoughts. But without further ado, let me jump into the video where I talk about this. Imagine baking a cake where you mistakenly substitute sugar for salt. So you put salt in and you forget the sugar. You then give it to a cake decorator. They decorate the cake, make it look absolutely beautiful, and then you present it to your family and friends at a birthday party. Imagine the look on your family's faces when they finally decide to eat the cake. They take a bite and imagine how salty that cake is. And so it's very pretty on the outside, but at the end of the day, a cake is made for eating and it's inedible. Okay. And the reason I bring this analogy to you, because it is so similar. It's a great analogy for bookkeeping and business, for bookkeeping and your accountant preparing a set of accounts, because bookkeeping really is the foundation on which all else is built. And there's only so much in terms of time and a sort of just even possibility what your accountant can fix at year end when they come to prepare your set of accounts. So I want to delve into this analogy with you to hopefully kind of get your thought processes flowing about some considerations that you need to take. So what I'm basically saying here is that business owners are baking salty cakes and expecting their accountants to turn them into birthday showstoppers. It sounds ridiculous, right? But it's exactly what I see happening time and time again. Many people think that bookkeeping is just simply ticking a box, entering data, and they assume that the accountant will fix everything and anything that goes wrong at year end. Now, don't get me wrong, accountants will fix a lot, but there is only so far they can go. Firstly, they are not conducting an audit, so they do not trawl through every transaction on a transaction by transaction basis. They are doing broad overviews of everything, and they hopefully do identify some corrections, but they will not always pick up everything. Honestly, I get it. If you're a business owner, or even if you're doing bookkeeping for lots of clients, you're busy. And the idea of getting stuck into getting things properly set up and doing things properly does not exactly sound thrilling. You're spinning a million plates, business, family life. And so it's tempting to take shortcuts. But here's the truth. As I said, your accountant cannot fix really badly done bookkeeping, or cannot fix bookkeeping where there's errors hidden in the fine detail. Just like a cake decorator cannot remove salt after a cake is baked. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get the foundations done correctly so that you don't have this issue or this risk of your accountant not being able to pick everything up. So what I'm going to share on my screen here is just comparing for you why what's the side-by-side comparison of bookkeeping in comparison to baking a cake, and why am I saying this? And there's actually a lot of similarities. So if we go to the next slide here, I couldn't actually share this full screen, which was a bit frustrating because it won't put my face here. And I thought, what's the point of putting a YouTube video up where you're just staring at a screen? So I would rather you can see my face and see the visual, the best of both worlds. So baking. Okay, what do we have to do to make sure that we end up with a cake that not only looks good, but tastes delicious? One of the key things you have to make sure is that you have the right ingredients. You follow a method. You need to understand the methodology within that method. So if it says cream, sugar, and butter, you need to know what that means. It doesn't mean add cream. It means to actually whip it up till you got like a creamy consistency. So there's a bit of understanding the methodology and the terminology. And with those all together, you can have an amazing cake that then can be decorated. Let me minimize the size of my face here, because on the next slide, I want to show the side-by-side comparison to bookkeeping. So with bookkeeping, what do you need to make sure you do? Now, I'm talking from the point of view here of you being a Xero user. You need to make sure that Xero is set up correctly. That includes everything from financial settings, chart of accounts, report layouts, etc. There's various elements that you need to make sure are in place, kind of like you line your ingredients up before you start baking. You need all your ducks in a row, and you need everything that you need set up properly for Xero. Next, you need to have checklists and processes, like standard operating procedures of how you do things. I have seen the best bookkeepers in the world make mistakes if they are not following a checklist or a process. Really, we're all human, and it's so important to have a standard step-by-step checklist or process that you work through, and that's like the method that you follow when you are baking. And then there's the methodology or the terminology. Just like with baking, you need to understand, what does it mean to have an accrual? What is a void versus a credit note? What the heck is depreciation? Things like that. So there's understanding the terminology to ensure that you're taking the right action based on your checklist or processes. And then what do? You end up with a well put together financial records that can then be turned into your set of accounts and your tax return. And that is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make sure that the starting point for the cake decorator or the starting point for the accountant is one that they can work with, because there's only so much that they can go back and do to the created sponge or the created financial records from the bookkeeping in the process of preparing the final product. And I really wanted to highlight this point to you, because I think there's a misconception that if you have an accountant, they're going to go in and just fix anything. So let's just get the bookkeeping done, start the entries, slap it all together, and there's nothing to worry about. But it really isn't that way. Okay, so let's flip the script. Bookkeeping is not data entry. It is a recipe and a method for your financial cake. So start by getting your setup right, learn the language, follow a method, and know your processes. That is going to be the key to success. Okay? So remember, you wouldn't serve a salty birthday cake, so don't serve up a messy set of books at year end. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more videos for you coming up on how to build your strong, sweet financial foundations. And yeah, thanks for listening. And if you have any specific areas that you are concerned about, please do let me know in the comments below, because it's always really great to hear your thoughts. Cheers.